Well, good morning, everybody. Let's call to order this meeting of the Audit Oversight Committee. Clerk, please call the roll.
Whitburn,
Here.
Elo Rivera,
Present.
Montgomery Stepp is absent. Frank,
Here.
Marino. Oh, do you mind speaking into the mic?
Present.
Thank you. Bush.
Here.
Goebel.
Here.
Chair, we have a quorum.
Thank you. Let's move to non-agenda public comment. This provides 2 minutes for anyone who would like to comment on something that is not on today's agenda, but is within the purview of the Audit Oversight Committee. Clerk, do we have any non-agenda public comment?
We do not have any.
Thank you, Clerk. We'll move to approval of the minutes for November 2nd, 2023. Clerk, do we have any public comment on the minutes?
We do not.
Thank you. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
We have a motion from Vice Chair Goebel. We have a second from Member Frank. Any discussion on the minutes? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the minutes, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. That motion carries unanimously. Let's move on to our discussion item. That's item 4, External Auditing Services Contract Award. We'll invite Aaron Dunn and Brianda Diaz to present this item.
Good morning. Thank you, Chair Whitburn. My name is Erin Dunn. I'm the controller here at MTS, and I am the project manager on this engagement, and I am joined by Brianda Diaz. She is in our procurement department and is the specialist on this procurement. Some background: as a government agency, we are required to have an external auditor conduct a financial audit of our MTS financials, as well as issue our annual comprehensive financial report. And then since we have the San Diego Transit Corporation Employee Retirement Plan, we are required to have that audited, as well as being recipients of FTA dollars, we are required to do a single audit each year. We also have several agreed upon procedures that must be performed. We have one for NTD, a compliance report. We have 3 for TDA, 1 for each of our operators. And then we do a compliance report for our indirect cost rate, since we charge both fringe and overhead to things such as the wages for our capital projects. Additionally, MTS does collaborate with our external auditors on implementations of various GASB standards, such as OPEB and pension and leases, and most recently SPIDAs. And we do work closely with them as any complex accounting issues surface that we want to help receive guidance and confirmation that we're treating them correctly. For this new contract, it would begin on April 1st, and it would be for 5 years with 3 one-year options. Historically, for our external auditors, thank you. A contract was awarded back in 2006 to Caparici and Larson. That one was for 5 years with 3 one-year options. That firm did go through various structuring changes over the years and eventually ended up as the Poon Group. In 2014, the Poon Group, through a competitive procurement, was again awarded a 5-year base, 3-year option year contract. And then we received 2 additional years with board approval as we implemented GASB 87 for leases. So with that, I will turn it over to Brianda to talk about the procurement process.
Thank you, Erin. To initiate the procurement on September 25th, MTS issued a request for a proposal through our EBIT system plan of bids for an external auditing services contractor. MTS received a total of 6 proposals on the due date of November 3rd, 2023 from the firms listed below. All 6 proposers were deemed to be responsive and responsible. Their proposals were forwarded to the evaluation committee. The evaluation committee consisted of MTS staff from the finance, accounting, and internal audit departments. All 6 proposals were evaluated on the criteria listed below for a total of 100 points. This table demonstrates how each proposer was scored in the technical and cost component of the proposals. You'll see each proposer and how they were ranked and the total points they received. Based on the initial evaluation, the evaluation committee did determine the top 3 firms to be within the competitive range based on technical and cost. These 3 firms were invited to participate in the interview process, which consisted of both a presentation and Q&A. Subsequent to the interviews, the panel reevaluated based on information received. In the table below, you'll see how the scores changed. The panel determined that the Poon Group and Plan Moran were the top 2 ranked proposers, and we did begin cost negotiations with both of these firms. After subsequent cost negotiations, the cost scores were updated and the Poon Group presented the best overall value to MTS. In the table below, you'll see the scores, and you'll also see the 8-year negotiated contract cost for both these firms. I'll pass it over to Erin, who will go over the strengths the evaluation panel determined.
Yes, thank you. So why the Poon Group? So the Poon Group is solely a governmental accounting firm. So all the work that they do, all of their clients are governmental clients. They also have a lot of experience with public transit, and they have a lengthy list of GFOA recipients, which has always been very important to MTS. They are experienced with single audit, and 2 of their proposed key members have received advanced certifications from AICPA in this area. They have NTD, TDA, and indirect cost experience, so they can easily complete those agreed upon procedure engagements. The Poon Group has a strong sense for technology, so they use a platform that allows us to securely exchange data with them and track open items for the audit and so we can see where we are and what they're waiting for. They also are early adopters for artificial intelligence, which allows them to test a lot of transactions at once instead of relying on the human element to go transaction by transaction. We love that they're a local firm with a strong presence in the region. And while they are a smaller firm, they are affiliated with a large accounting network, Lineal Global, that gives them broader accounting resources. And they are members of various more local agencies such as CalCPA. In addition to all that, the cost savings over Plant Moran, it was at $1.4 million. So while they have all those pros, since I mentioned earlier that they have been our auditor since 2006, we did want to talk about the familiarity threat. Per the AICPA, the familiarity threat is present because the auditor may be too accepting of the client's data due to the long-standing relationship with the client. The Poon Group was very proactive in addressing this in their proposal, both as well as in their current, under our current contract. So they have rotated their lead engagement partner 3 times since I've been involved in this relationship. And for the new contract, there's 4 new sets of eyes that and faces to MTS. The quality control reviewer, the engagement project director, the engagement manager, and the senior auditor are all new faces for MTS that have not served on our contract previously. And then finally, the Poon Group does participate in the peer review process with other external auditing firms, and they participate with that every 3 years and have always received a pass rating. So with that, staff's recommendation is that the Audit Oversight Committee forward a recommendation to the Board of Directors to authorize the CEO to execute a contract with the Poon Group for external auditing services for 5 base years with 3 one-year options, and to exercise the option years at the CEO discretion. Before we open it up for public comment, I did want to note that Ken Poon from the Poon Group is available on the line if there are any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Clerk, do we have any public comment on this item?
We do not.
Thank you, Clerk. We will now open it up for committee member discussion on this item, beginning with member Elo Rivera.
Thank you, Chair. Thanks for the presentation. Appreciate it. Just want to kind of drill down a little bit more on the familiarity threat. Is it typical that, because if I understand what the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants recommendation is, when they say the auditor, they don't mean the individual auditor, they mean the company that's doing it, correct?
Well, a lot of times it refers to the partner, which is why there is a mandate that they have to rotate every 5 years. So that is required. However, in addition to rotating the engagement partner, they're also bringing in the 4 new faces to address it.
Understood. I understand. I understand that. I'm not trying to. I just want to make sure I fully vet this part because it is like the obvious
Of course.
Red flag. Is swapping out the specific folks working on or working with an agency, is that considered best practice to mitigate for familiarity threat that is posed here?
Yes, and Tufik is very well versed in AICPA, so he's our internal auditor and we'll speak to that.
Is that mic working? Okay. Good morning, everyone. My name is Tufik Tabshiri. I'm the internal auditor for MTS. I was asked to participate in this procurement just to kind of provide my perspective. So I'll give you the kind of professional or academic kind of high level answer to your question, Councilmember Rivera. I think it's a very good question. So basically, audit standards in general, and then specifically government audit standards, which are applicable to any audits, to any financial audits of MTS, they promulgate kind of processes for identifying threats to independence and also for handling those threats to independence. So government audit standards specifically lists 7 potential threats to independence. The one that we're talking about here is the familiarity threat, which is most applicable to an auditor who's been our longtime auditor. And so the audit standards don't really state specifically what types of steps that the auditor must take to mitigate those that threat, but really it becomes kind of a judgment call for members of the audit committee and for us that participated in the procurement to decide, did they do enough? And my personal judgment, I think that of the team, is that by replacing a lot of the staff on the audit, by introducing another layer of review and changing the partners, I think they've done as much as they can to really change the audit team. So that they addressed it to my satisfaction. That's my own position, but I'm happy to take any more specific questions.
Just one follow-up. Continued peer reviews are one of the ways that we kind of double check the work. Happening every 3 years, it sounds like the peer review is of the accounting firm as a whole, not of the specific work done with MTS.
Yeah, that's another great question as well. So I'm happy to get into it. So the requirement for a peer review for firms that are conducting external financial audits, that is a regulatory requirement from the California Board of Accountancy. They must undergo it every 3 years. And then it's called a peer review, but it's really a lot more formal than that. What I like to think of it, it's really the state outsourcing the inspection of audit firms, because you go and you get a peer reviewer to audit your firm, but then you must submit the results of that peer review to the Board of Accountancy within 45 days of that peer review on a state form. And then, you're graded basically as pass with deficiencies or substandard, and there are real consequences to not doing well on that peer review. Now, the peer reviewer, when they go conduct their peer review, they typically will review the quality control processes at the firm, and they'll do a sampling of various audits that firm has conducted. Whether or not the peer reviews of the PUN group have sampled the MTS audit specifically, I don't know the answer. It doesn't really matter as much. Generally speaking, if the quality control at the audit firm is good, up to standard, then there aren't as many concerns,
Would it be completely unorthodox to ask for peer review of the quality standards of our specific audit?
I don't know how we can go about making that request. I think that would entail a discussion between us and the auditor. I think it's not typical but maybe Ken Poon would be in a better position to answer that question.
Sure, yeah.
Hi, this is Ken Poon. Very great to speak on this item. Unfortunately, the peer reviewer has their own judgment in evaluating our whole entire population and selecting the clients to perform their peer review. In the past, I think that was not the last time, but the time before, MTS was one of the engagement that the peer reviewer was selected and go through the process. And certainly we do have the pass. And then also in the upcoming, in the next 2 years, the AICPA have completely changed the quality control. Instead of doing it in the on a case-by-case basis, peer reviewers to select. They are looking at the whole and not entire managed the quality managed system instead of just going to do a selective approach on the engagement itself. So therefore, we got to do it on an annual basis. Couple things. One, our internal inspection. Like besides our EQCR, our quality control reviewer is going through our review before the issuance of the report. We do actually have internal inspection. So each engagement partner will have like a couple of the engagement rotating within the firm to go through kind of like the peer review process, but do it internally. So this is a process that has been done since pretty much day one. This is also required under the peer review standard. So hopefully I addressed the questions that you have.
Yeah, I think I understand that it's the way it's, I think I understand that as it applies to the general peer review of the accounting firm. I guess what I was asking is a little more specific, which is making a specific request for a specific audit to be peer reviewed. I feel much more comfortable after having asked these questions that probably isn't necessary. Appreciate the responses and all the work on this.
Sure.
I think that's the end of my questions, Chair.
Thank you, Member Ela Rivera. Vice Chair Goebel.
To clarify or reiterate, the question the public would ask is who audits the auditors? And what I'm hearing you is saying other accounting firms in the industry who also are auditors audit our auditors. And they turn in that work to the state. So far, so good. So really what prevents collusion among the players in the industry from I'll scratch your back, you scratch my back is their name goes on a report to the state. So if there's any hijinks going on among the industry, their name's on the report and they're going to suffer if they try to wink a peer review. Am I thinking correctly on that to prevent that?
I mean, the processes for this structure, this peer review structure, have gotten more robust over time. You can try to game it, but you do that at your own peril. The Board of Accountancy, the California Board of Accountancy publishes a quarterly newsletter where they list all the audit firms that have failed peer review and then the sanctions, you know, and so that's kind of been the trend since Sarbanes-Oxley, just to tighten up on that structure for ensuring that the, you know, quality audits are being done. And I can get into that more, but yeah, thank you.
And they received a grade of pass. Is there a higher grade or is that the highest grade?
Pass is the highest grade.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair Goebel. Mr. Poon, it's my understanding that you are the one who called our attention to the familiarity threat. Could you tell us a little bit more about, in your own words, how you mitigate that threat?
Well, that is one of the things. It's a lot like familiarity threats. It's actually a threat that is like it's too close to a client. And then we do definitely have a long-term relationship between Capucci and Larson all the way up to now the Poon Group here. I've been involving for such a long time, but I have been rotated out and not really touching the day-to-day operations, the day-to-day auditing of the MTS financial statement, and just providing technical guidance to my team to perform the audit. Over the last 20 years, we've been rotating at least like 5 times for the whole entire team, and also given the fact that the last couple of years with the great what I call the great resignation issue, we do actually have staff turnovers. We actually experience some, definitely have a new staff being assigned on the engagement. With the new contract, along with, let's put it 2 ways. One is the state require the engagement partners being rotated out for every 6 years. Our firm policy is rotating partners every 5 years. So it's kind of do it a year earlier so that that partner is not getting too familiar with the new partner picking up on the job is not getting too familiar with MTS here. Also, as Aaron already presented, this time we actually changed couple of the key individual. The quality control reviewer supposed to be Gary Capricci, and unfortunately he passed away last year. And we already have a new quality control reviewer to review MTS financial statement and audit work paper before it was being issued. We also assigned Sophia Kuo, who has a tremendous amount of experience in state local government audit, a lot of transit operator audit, who's oversee the audit work. We also have an engagement manager, completely change it from our existing engagement manager. Her name now is Suzette Reese, and then also a new senior on the job, Cassandra. So with pretty much the whole entire team being swapped out, we will be able to reduce the familiarity threat to a lower level. Another way to look at, we try to reduce a lot of human bias into auditing our own client by using AI technology. So in the past, in the old days, we basically look at the schedule presented by MTS. We put in a lot of human judgment in selecting samples. Now with the AI technology on transactional testing, we actually take out that human bias. So between swapping the team, having the AI audit technology coming into play, we will be able to reduce our familiarity threats to an acceptable level in order for us to move forward. So hopefully I address the concern that the AOC has as of this point.
Thank you very much, Mr. Poon. I appreciate that. And just one other question that I would have for Ms. Dunn. I did notice a rather significant difference in the bids. Could you run us through that again?
For the cost. So this slide shows, so the average score, the most anyone can get is the lowest cost proposal gets the max amount of points, which is 20, and then it's allocated on a weighted score. So Vasquez or Davis Fire would have had the next lowest score. So they received 19.95. And then you can see Plant Moran, who technically scored second highest. However, their cost was almost double of the Poon groups. So we did try to negotiate. I believe it's like 5%.
I can speak on this. So the average cost score was mathematically calculated. As Aaron pointed out, the higher the cost, the lower the score. And then, as Aaron mentioned, we did try to negotiate. We did ask for revised cost proposals, and we did get a slight price increase, but not significantly enough to rank them Flammorad to number 1.
Okay. So looking at that, then the cost proposal difference is what, $1.4 million. Okay. Okay, that answers my questions. I appreciate that. I am happy to entertain a motion to approve the staff recommendation. Vice Chair Goebel?
Second.
Okay. We have a motion and a second to approve the staff recommendation. Member Ela Rivera.
Sorry, just ready to vote.
Okay, all right. Clerk, please call the roll.
Whipper,
Yes.
Ela Rivera,
Yes.
Montgomery Stepp is absent. Frank,
Yes.
Moreno,
Yes.
Bush,
Yes.
Goebel.
Yes.
The motion passes unanimously with 1 member absent.
Thank you, Clerk. Do we have any staff or committee member communications? Seeing none, we will adjourn the audit oversight